Hey everyone, welcome to Terra TV. I'm your host Joseph from Casa Crypto. So this week I've got the first episode in the Prism report. This is going to be your number one series to stay in the loop of what's going on over at Prism Protocol. The Prism Protocol is a team of developers that are bringing some very innovative strategies and some very industry leading asset refraction systems. It's a super cool environment. They've got a massive innovative product being fleshed out over there, and they've been launched and live on the Terra ecosystem for a while now. Enough of my soapbox on what the Prism team has been really doing. I'd like to thank Jimmy for coming on to the show, and just appreciate you giving the time to kind of give everyone notice of what's going on over there and the key developments you guys have coming.
Yeah, for sure. Hey everyone, I'm super happy to always hang out with the Terabytes and Terra Money fam.
Yeah, so we also have Evan stopping by over here, Pantera himself. Glad to have you here, sir.
I'm just here for moral support. I'm actually just here for the alpha leak.
Yeah, just for the alpha.
Yeah.
The alpha leaks will be strong in this series, and that's kind of the goal, is to kind of just keep everyone in the loop of what's going on, give any necessary updates, and if there is any alpha dropped, so be it. Then everyone who is in the know will be able to know. So yeah, let's get into what Prism is. Jamie, what is your guys' vision? What is your guys' goal if you're not familiar to Prism?
Yeah, so essentially at Prism, we enable people to refract yield-bearing assets. And we're starting with Luna. And I think it just enables additional composability and gives people more options on what they want to do with their Luna, right? And we finished our first 4 launch phases. We're up and running with our Luna refraction vaults. And currently right now we're kind of featuring the Prism Farm, which gives people an idea of, gives them a taste of what you can do with our platform, right? And we're rewarding users that have Prism, are staking X Prism, and are essentially staking their Y Luna with us to earn some Prism. I mean, there's a lot going on here, but in a gist, like that's what Prism is, and that's what we're kind of up to, in a nutshell.
Yeah, I know that the community has been super involved with everything that's going on at Prism. I know that there is a massive community of debate going on regarding P Luna, Y Luna. So there's like a whole little kind of community-oriented division there. It's really cool and interesting to kind of see how your guys' blockchain developments are actively guiding and controlling the culture of a whole ecosystem. Really interesting stuff that's going on over there. If you guys are not familiar with the correct link to go check out Prism Protocol, it is out on the screen right now. That is the official mirror from Prism Protocol, and you can go ahead and go over there, interact with all the different things that you have, stake your Luna, get your C Luna, and then start refracting and participate in the different farms and the different things that are going on over there. So this week we have. Oh, sorry. Do you want to go in on something there?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that, we initially came into this to, refract assets, but we've also refracted the community, it seems. And when we first launched, there was a lot of Civil War vibes and these little DAOs have popped up, right? Like you've got the P Luna DAO, the Y Luna DAO, and even the C Luna DAO has popped up. And I've spurred folks to essentially create pseudonyms. Like Prism Watcher is pretty renowned now in the space, and the amount of digging that he's been doing around the protocol. But yeah, I think it's and of course internally everyone's pointing fingers at each other and suspecting who's who. But I think honestly, I think it's just community members stepping up and just getting really passionate about what we're doing and kind of just fleshing out the narrative from their side.
Yeah, I think that you guys have fostered an environment where everyone feels comfortable enough to just joining these different groups. Like you mentioned, I didn't even know that there was a C Luna DAO, and that's crazy that a liquid staking derivative is inspiring different sects of groups like that. I don't think I've seen a protocol in Terra accomplish that. Especially considering you guys have rolled out probably one of the smoothest token rollouts that I've seen in all of Terra. It's been a really, really incredible come up story for you guys.
Yeah, for sure. And we can get into the stats here, but now that you're already on the swap page here where you can kind of see all of the assets that we have, you'll see that yeah, we've had some really amazing kind of price action lately. And even though the amount of Luna that has kind of joined into the Prism farm, the base APR rate of I think like 40% or so has kind of stayed, stayed pretty steady. If anything, it's like I think increased a little bit. But yeah, we can jump to some of the analytics if you like.
Yeah, let's go ahead and go into that. So next up, we've got the new Prism dashboard. So this is a new dashboard that has launched thanks to Flipside Crypto, if I'm not mistaken. This is a recent development, and this is going to be the first view that lunatics get into this. So yeah, go for explaining what you guys have done here.
Yeah, so I think we've engaged the guys over at Flipside, like GJ and NCO Man on Twitter. I think we first realized some of his talents when he was covering some of like the Ash Report launches, and ever since then, like everyone has kind of engaged him and the Flipside guys when they want to peel back exactly what's happening behind the scenes. So that's exactly what we've done here for the Prism farm. So I think at the top right here, you'll see some metrics that we've got going on. So the first two are usually what attracts people to any kind of platform, right? And we've kind of summarized it here. So at first we have the base APR. If you're only staking Y Luna, this is what you can expect in the base APR, around like 41%. And then next to that, you'll have your boost APR. And this is your median boost APR. So it's like, a type of average, right? And it's just essentially to get these boosts from our Prism farm, you have to have not only Y Luna, but you also have to have pledged some X Prism to earn amps, right? And we a little bit lower, you can see the distribution of that, but essentially on average right now, most users are seeing right around 20% additional APR on top of that 41%.
Yeah, so you can go ahead and see that boost APR right here. That's kind of when I first noticed is that the vast majority of users are seeing 10% boost on it, but you still have some of these remaining stragglers. Like right here, I can capture a small little group of people, 5 users, who are seeing 500 or 200% APR on their boost. Are these users? I see Evan over there nodding. Are you a locked user getting 200% over there?
Yeah, we're in good company in that chart. We're in a small room. Let's just put it that way.
Small room. That's exciting. So what is going on there? Why are we in small company there? How do these users get that 200%?
Yeah, so I guess to get the 200% APR, so essentially, what the formula is doing is essentially, you have a numerator, which is just going to be how much Prism you're earning every single day, or the value of that Prism you're earning, divided by your Y Luna position. So honestly, it is a little bit not intuitive, because if you have a big gap between how many amps you have versus how much Y Luna you have, your APR can be really, really high, right? So if you've only staked 0.1 Y Luna, but say you have like 1,000,000 amps, then it will show that you're earning a lot of Prism, and your APR will be like super out of whack, because that position only costs you like 0.1 Y Luna, right? And then that's exactly what like the chart underneath it kind of helps clarify. So you don't really want the highest APR. You want the most rewards every single, like you want the highest daily amount of rewards, right? And maybe we can like flip over to another chart too. I should have sent you guys this, but you can pause there at the daily rewards. Yeah, so you can kind of see that like I did some of the math on this. Like most people are actually earning, I think like the median is 3 Prism per day.
3
Right.
Prism.
So it's actually, yeah. So like you can see most people fall in that bucket of earning between 1 to 10 Prism every single day. And there's a really long tail of people earning, anywhere between all the way up to like say 1,000, right? But it's very few. Most people are just earning anywhere between 1 to 10 Prism per day. So even though the APRs can perhaps seem out of whack, you don't necessarily want like the total highest APR. You want personally for yourself. You want to be able to get the most Prism. So I think this kind of like visualizes that, whereas on the front end, we can't show exactly all of this data. And then let me send you something else really quick that we can perhaps pull up, and hopefully it's still live. This is the Prism Farm calculator that I was working on over the weekend. And obviously, like, there's a lot of moving parts, right? Like, there's a time aspect to X Prism and that AMP's fault. There is like this weighting factor. There's just a lot of math going on behind the scenes that a lot of people just like, they want more actionable results, right? And they just want to know, like, what can I change, right? What do I have power over? And just tell me what I need to do, right? So that's kind of why I've developed this to be as user-friendly as possible. There's a lot of calculations going on behind the scenes, but the way that you use this app is essentially on the left-hand side. A user would just put in their wallet address, and we'll go and query the blockchain, and it will go pull out, okay, how much Y Luna you have in the Prism farm, what's the amount of X Prism you've pledged in our AMPs vault, how many AMPs you've kind of accrued, and what's your current base, boost, and what's your total APR, right? And then from there, I say, okay, let me run the simulations for you. I'm going to say, okay, what happens if you reduce your Y Luna by a little bit, by a little bit, by a little bit, or what happens if you increase it by a lot? And then at the same time, what happens if you reduce the amount of X Prism that you have or increase the amount of X Prism that you have? Okay, so if you're a user, you're looking at this, you'll notice that there is a white line that says current Y Luna state, right? So that's your current Y Luna position. On the left-hand side, you're gonna have the total APR, and then on the bottom, on the X-axis, you're gonna have your daily Prism rewards. And kind of like I mentioned earlier, it's not necessary that you want the highest APR, because if you look on this chart, as you move to the left, your APR is going higher, but the amount of Prism that you get every single day is becoming lower, right? So you don't necessarily want that. And you'll see that the color chart is like the position value. How much is the Y Luna plus X Prism worth in your portfolio on Prism and in the Prism farm, right? So the idea is that you want the smallest position value earning the most rewards. So that's how you optimize your portfolio. So one of the things that you can do is you can just draw like a little box over that current Y Luna staked, and it's going to zoom in for you. Or you can just like probably scroll into that position so people can get like a closer look at what's going on. So each one of these lines is a constant amount of Luna staked, but as you go up the same line, it's changing the amount of X Prism that you have pledged. So you can see that, all right, what happens if I increase my Luna, or what happens if I increase my X Prism? And you'll see that obviously the more Luna that you're staking, you're getting more rewards every day, right? But then if you also increase the amount of X Prism that you're pledging in the AMPS vault, you're getting more along that line, but you're also getting like your APR starts to go up as well, right? So this is just a simple tool that I hope will give people some actionable items on like, how do I optimize my exact position, and find out like where along that curve that they kind of want to be at in regards to this Prism farm.
Is this calculator open to the public? Is this ready for use, or is this upcoming?
Yeah, no, it's ready for use. It's like pinned. I just pinned it today in my Twitter bio.
Okay, so for all the lunatics at home who are trying to optimize their Prism farming positions, this is the best location to go to. This is an incredible tool. I know from my perspective, when I first got into Prism, I was confused. Like I had to pull up the white paper, and I actually looked at the formulas. I looked at the scalings, and I started understanding a little bit of the complex mechanism there, because it's not like you're strictly maximizing a one-dimensional asset APR. Like, it's not like you're getting a single reward and that's the only thing you're getting rewarded in. In Prism, you have multiple facets going on. You have the time period, you have reward emissioning, and you also have original position amount. So like all of those interesting positions, all of those things kind of come together and merge to optimize positions. So I think that while it is like a very intricate and a very like innovative way to roll out a token and to roll out a platform, I can see how overwhelming it would be for users to kind of like get a grasp on what's going on. But I think with this little calculator that you guys have made, it's a huge tool for people to go to really structure their portfolio the best ways that they can.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's one of the things that we got a lot of questions on, and like on Twitter Spaces. It's like, hey, what's my optimum ratio, right? And people want to know like what's the perfect Y Luna to X Prism balance, and like it's really hard to say because like for someone who with a lot of Y Luna, that position to optimize it looks way different than someone else. So this is just something that is a little bit more personalized for each and every user that accounts for everything that we have going on. That it's nearly impossible to like kind of calculate for every person, but this will give you a much better idea of how to do that and kind of choose where along that curve that you want to play.
Yeah, I think this is an incredible tool. Yeah.
Jimmy,
So yeah,
can you
sorry.
talk a little bit about the amps and how you actually accrue those? And then I know that you can actually lose those if you take certain actions. Can you dive into that for the
Yeah, for
uninitiated?
sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Joseph, can you like double click to reset that chart real quick? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, real quick. So the main idea is that like we wanted to create this cross pollinating effect where different parts of the protocol interact with others that essentially reward and benefit folks that use more aspects or use all aspects of the protocol, right? Before we had the idea of amps, it was possible that folks would essentially just hold no Prism tokens and then would just enter into the Luna Y Luna farm and essentially do what we've seen a lot in other protocols where they just essentially use their Luna to farm more governance tokens to essentially swap and build their Luna stack, right? But we wanted a mechanism where the governance token holders benefit from all aspects of the portfolio and would give additional benefits to folks who utilize the platform. So the way that we've done that is through our governance token, you can stake it, right? From Prism, you get X Prism. X Prism gives you all of the revenue fee generation that the protocol has. And right now, that's for mainly between our DEX with our swap fees, as well as the essentially performance fees that we take on the liquid Y Luna staking for 10% for most of the staked Y Luna. And then to take things additionally, to take things a little bit further, we allow folks to pledge their X Prism, essentially putting it into a boosting contract that accrues amps, right? There's some formulas around there, but essentially the longer that you have your X Prism pledge, the more amps you accrue. And the more amps that you accrue, we essentially are boosting rewards for our Prism farm at the moment. And then like to get into some of the details around like, okay, exactly how that impacts the Prism farm, right? So we're looking at this calculator. You'll notice that there's a huge gap between the top part of that graph and the bottom part of that graph. And that line happens to be, that line occurs when you have less X Prism than you started with, right? So if you decide that you want to, if you want to unpledge some X Prism, then your APR drops down and your daily reward also drops down. So you can see like if you follow that white line, and now I realize that on like I'm always using dark mode for everything. So now I realize like on this light mode that it's really hard to see that white line. But yeah, so you'll notice that if you have the same amount of Luna, right? If you have the same amount of Luna, but you decide to unpledge and essentially all of your amps get reset to 0 if you unpledge your X Prism, then you'll see a sharp decline in your daily rewards and a sharp decline in your total APR. So this essentially will hopefully give people some FOMO before and think twice before they want to unpledge any X Prism. And another thing to account for is like as time goes on and the more amps that you have accrued, this gap you see will start increasing, right? So if this was a wallet where they just started pledging X Prism like yesterday, there would barely be any gap, right? But as time goes on, this gap is increasing. So the opportunity cost and like the sunk cost of you unpledging later on is going to be very expensive. So this essentially works to take X Prism out of circulating supply and essentially reward the most loyal X Prism pledgers.
Interesting. So, I mean, from my perspective, like as a user, like the sooner you get in, the better you're gonna be, regardless of what you do, position wise. Like, I mean, even if a user were to prioritize getting their APR high, they would still be better off than any user who decided to leave at any other point. So, I think that that's a
Yeah,
really interesting mechanism there.
yeah, exactly. And like I think like there are some other like curve like V curve and VX blocking models that a lot of other protocols have adopted, and we've seen some come out for Anchor, right? Um, Yeah, we just like, we felt like this it's a different take on it, even easier to implement from our side, and has some of like the same kind of interesting reward profiles and cross-pollinating effects for users.
Yeah. So overall, I mean, for me, from as like as an early user here, I mean, I did hear recently that there isn't a proposed integration with Nexus Protocol. Nexus Protocol is going to be doing kind of a vault where they've been capturing these amps for users and that they could start using them. It's how does that integration kind of play in hand with this chart? Because like as a
Yeah,
user,
actually,
I might be incentivized just to wait for Nexus to give me their vault to deposit.
yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, that's something that we're actually in touch with the Nexus team on for them building this, and essentially it's like they're creating a vault where you don't necessarily have to hold and pledge the X Prism yourself. They'll do it for you, and they'll take a performance fee for that, right? So say like
Okay.
6 months from now, a new user comes along and they discover Prism and they discover the Prism farm. And we're still gonna go for like, a total of 12 months, right? But in 6 months' time, you've just discovered it, you might feel like you're quite behind, right? Like people have been already accumulating amps for about 6 months and you're just not realizing it. And for you to get caught up, it can take quite a long time for you to get caught up. So, what Nexus is essentially allowing later users is to just deposit their Y Luna with them, and they will essentially give you the maximum boost because they're the ones holding the X Prism. They're the ones like pressing the amps button every day and getting the max boosted rewards from their vault. So it's very similar to like kind of the convex deal, and there are some other protocols that are running some similar time-based models. But essentially, it's building on top of what we have going for Prism and the Prism farm, and it's actually I think it's a net benefit to users and net benefit to Prism as well, since you have this new protocol or this new vault coming in to essentially hold and essentially accumulating amps forever.
Yeah, it's a committed vault from a different developer. So at the end, it's still gonna bring in some sort of delegation for you guys on your end. So I
Yeah,
think that it
no,
really
exactly.
realigns people.
And there's like one other like graph that I kind of want to highlight from the previous dash is that if we go down to let's see, oh yeah, the amount X Prism Holdings pledge, yeah, exactly, that's the one where you can see that there's just these two bars pretty much on either end. So it's essentially saying um, users that hold X Prism, what percent of their holdings are pledged? Right? And you can see the largest bar, I think it's like over 80%. Over
Yeah.
80% of all X Prism holders are pledging nearly 100% of their X Prism, right? So
Wow.
they essentially just put it all in there to earn amps and to essentially get a boost in the Prism farm.
Yeah.
Um, I think this is super bullish for the protocol. That this means like the users are engaged, they know what's going on, and that they're committed to earning these amps, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, like we're curious to see what happens when the farm, the Prism token coming out of the farm finish vesting and is claimable. That starts, I think, around April 6th, April 7th, depending on where you are in the world. But we'd like to add something here to kind of show people like, hey, what's exactly happening to the Prism that is coming out of the Prism farm? Are people claiming it and repledging it for more amps? Are they just claiming it and regular staking it for X Prism? Or are they just claiming it as naked Prism, right?
Yeah.
So we want to kind of get an idea of like, okay, what are people doing with the Prism? And one of the things that I've been thinking about, and I haven't exactly quite fleshed out, but I was kind of inspired by BitNate's proposal on the Anchor protocol around. I think it's passed already. Proposal number 20 around like the dynamic interest rate for Anchor, right? And the metric that they were optimizing for was the yield reserve. So if the yield reserve is falling, the Anchor earn rate would also fall, and vice versa. If the yield reserve is increasing, then the Anchor earn rate would increase. So one of the things that I was thinking about was like, okay, what metric could we kind of look at, and then what levers could we pull? And one of the things that we've kind of teased is that, um, maybe in 30 days or 60 days, we could put up for a governance vote what the changing ratio for the base and boost contract would be. I guess if you go to like the first graph, you'll kind of see the split right now between base and boost, right? So in orange, that's the amount of normal or base Prism rewards that are coming out. And then the boost is the 20% or the blue, right? So you're only earning the boost portion if you have X Prism and amps. And then everyone else shares the blue portion as well, right? Y Luna, normal Y Luna and boosters are earning that orange section. So the idea was that, okay, in say 30, 60 days, like maybe we should change that ratio. Maybe we want to incentivize people to hold Prism and pledge it even more. So we'll change the ratio from 20% going to boost. Maybe we'll change that to 30% or 40% or 50%, right? It just depends on what folks vote for. But instead of like doing that manually, I was thinking of like, oh, maybe we can do it dynamically, where if more people are pledging their Prism for pledging all the way to get more amps, then this boost should shrink a bit. Or if there's too much circulating Prism versus what's in the amps vault, maybe we should increase the amount of boost, right? But do something a little bit more dynamically that kind of adjusts to market sentiment and how everyone is interacting with the protocol versus like going through kind of the slow process of doing multiple governance votes.
Wow, that's intriguing. That's some alpha thought right there. I hadn't even consider that. It's almost as if you guys are taking a semi-dynamic rate from Anchor Earn and applying it to your guys' amp yields and positions of staking, I guess. Uh,
Yeah, because I think that's like one of the uncertainties around like what people are thinking of, right? It's like, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen when all this Prism gets circulated? Are people just going to like sell, or are they going to amp? And we've got people on all sides, of the camp, right? And we want the protocol to be a little bit more. But I like it to be. I think we maybe we can work something out where it's a little bit more dynamic that kind of responds quickly versus like governance can take quite a while to get everyone on the same page and all doing the same thing, and then having the developers implement these changes. So yeah, I'm hoping to like we could maybe come up to do something one time, and then like it kind of works itself out over the course of a year or so.
yeah. Well, that's incredible. Okay, so I think we've had a really nice little deep dive into the kind of the analytical and the thinking that you guys are having. I know that earlier before we started recording, we had talked about how we wanted to cover a little bit on what you guys are having, a little bit of forecastual stuff. And I know that this distribution is kind of a little bit of an inspiration for your guys' next moves, next steps. What are some things that lunatics can keep ahead, keep into their and keep on their radar?
Yeah, so like from the first chart you see here for what, and of course, like there's plenty of stuff here that you guys can dig into, but just for the sake of our time here, like you can see for Y Luna, we've got plenty of things that you can do, right? You can stake it normally, you can LP it, you can join in the Prism farm, and you can see the lion's share of the Y Luna right now that's been refracted is inside the Prism farm. But conversely, you see on the P Luna chart that there's not much going on. You can either essentially LP it, or you can essentially just hold on to it, speculate with it, and make sure that it's, your entire Luna is protected if you ever want to get out of your position. Yeah, so right now most of the P Luna is unused, right? So some of the things that we're working on in the near future are just to give P Luna some more utility. So maybe the first thing that I wanted to kind of tease is the NFT, right? So I think we have something prepared for that. But over the last like week or two, um, doing the dashboard for these analytics, I've been kind of creating the whitelist for this NFT. So previously, we've kind of announced that, oh, if you participated in our launch sequence, the Prism Forge, partaking in the refraction, partaking in the Prism Farm, we essentially are going to airdrop an NFT. And then you can kind of see the NFT in the Twitter thread that we have. So yeah, one of our validators for the Prism Luna Vault is the folks over at Galactic Punks, and they were kind enough to kind of make this sweet looking Prism NFT for us. So I finished doing the whitelist, and there's going to be around like 1,500 or so names. And part of the idea to give P Luna some more utility is that, say like on most of these NFT marketplaces, you know, most of them are still trading with Luna. Luna is still being denominated to trade a lot of these NFTs, right?
Hmm.
And right now, like a lot of people are still debating between like, oh man, you can do so many things with Luna, right? You can obviously refract it in our protocol. You can stake it. You can have it be Luna. You can have it in like these LP farms. But then you can also trade it, and speculate with it on with NFTs. And the idea for P Luna is that once you've refracted your Luna, you can have your Y Luna go work for you. It can be staked. It can go earn Prism Farm for you. And on with P Luna, you can potentially use it as a currency to trade NFTs, right? And we've engaged the folks over at One Planet to kind of help us out with that. So for this particular NFT, we'll be able to you'll be able to essentially mint this if you're on the whitelist for something really small, maybe like just let's say like between zero point 0.1 to 1 P Luna. You'll get a chance to mint this if you're on the whitelist. Again, there's like around 1,500 or so um, addresses on that list that have participated in all of our launch and from Forge to farm to refracting and the whole shebang. If you've utilized our platform to its fullest extent, you'll be receiving one of these Prism NFTs. Yeah. So and then afterwards, after it's been minted, you can also obviously trade it using P Luna if folks want to sell it or buy it and speculate it on the secondary market. Um, as for additional utility, nothing has been kind of set in stone just yet. But one of the ideas that I've been kind of kicking around is just like perhaps this Prism NFT can also accrue amps. Like maybe it has a um, like an equivalent amount of X Prism that it's applying to your amps balance. So maybe the X Prism underneath what it
Mm.
represents is never able to be traded or burned or anything like that, but it's just like helps accumulate the amount of amps that you have in that vault and help boost everything else that we're going to apply to the protocol, right? So we want to give this thing like a little bit more utility as well, right? And play along with everything that we're already building. That's just an idea for now, something that I'd hope to get implemented a bit later down on the road and give this thing some more utility and desires to have, right? And people can perhaps even put a dollar amount on what those benefits are worth to them. But in the near term, maybe within like the next say like week, 2 weeks, you should see this hit One Planet, ready to be minted and traded using P Luna.
Oh, wow. I know that I've been seeing a lot since the very beginning about this whole P Luna versus Y Luna discussion. And a lot of the concerns have been the lack of use cases for P Luna. Um,
Hmm.
but I did remember seeing that the very first proposal was to start using it to speculate on NFTs, and I do think that that is a very unique opportunity for a principal asset, for an asset that is otherwise just kind of sitting there idle, as the data would suggest. The majority of Prism users are just like letting it sit. So I think that this using your P Luna to obtain like essentially a non-fungible token, an NFT, to essentially boost and also create work for you. I think that's a massive perk as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm excited to see like what other people come up with on, for P Luna in regards to like the NFT scene. But yeah, shout out to the guys over at One Planet. They were super accommodating when it came to them with this idea. And for the most part, most NFT marketplaces are using native tokens only, right? Native UST, native
Mhm.
Luna. So when it comes to like a CW20 token, it's a little bit more intricate and complex, and they have to make some changes. But the One Planet guys have been great in that regard.
That's awesome. That's really exciting. Okay, so I think that we've gotten quite a bit covered here. Is there anything else you kind of want to let lunatics know, keep ahead and keep in their minds, or you think we're good?
Yeah, I think if I could leak one more thing for everyone, I think most people are excited about um, for additional P Luna utility is being able to use it as a collateral, right, on different money markets. I think the first one that we'll probably see it on is going to be Edge. For on Edge protocol, right now in their Genesis pool, they have quite a few quite a few assets, right? You have Anchor, Mirror, Luna X, AUSD, Luna USD. Um, we've kind of been in chats with them to create Prism's own money market where you can see all of our assets. So every asset that you see on Prism Swap, you'll be able to essentially lend and borrow them on a money market. But in the near term, before that rolls out, we might see some additional assets coming online for in Edge protocol, their
Ooh.
Genesis pool, right? So you might see P Luna make an appearance here sometime, like say within the next week or so, where you can borrow and you can supply it. So P Luna now becomes a yield bearing asset for folks. There's some
Wow.
other intricacies in there that we can get into, but like as for yeah, like short term use cases, now you should be able to deposit P Luna, borrow it, short it if you want to on this platform, and essentially create and speculate in a more dynamic way with P Luna.
Oh, that's super exciting. It seems like that the next episode of the Prism Report, we're going to be covering all the new use cases you guys have come up with for P Luna. That's really exciting.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be really, really cool for P Luna utility. And then like once we've got our Prism own money market coming out, you'll also have all of the other assets, right? Like C Luna, Y Luna, Prism, X Prism, and whatnot on there as well. I think that one's really cool because yes, we want utility for P Luna, but the more C Luna and Y Luna that we have in other protocols, it's also really, really good for X Prism holders, right? Since 100% of those staking fees are going to X Prism holders. So essentially, like any utility for our assets is good for everyone. So that's what we're working on bringing with this collaboration with the folks over at Edge.
That's super exciting. Well, I think we've kind of covered a lot. So I really appreciate you for coming out onto the show. Thank you so much for committing to the first episode of the Prism Report. This is going to hopefully be a reoccurring series where you guys, whenever you feel the need, just reach out to me. We'll schedule a Prism Report episode. It could be weekly, bi-weekly, whatever you guys feel the need to disseminate some news, cover some stuff, cover any developments. So I'm excited to kind of keep giving this to our audience, to kind of keep them in the loop of what's going on at Prism Protocol. So if you guys have made it this far in the video, thank you so much. Like, subscribe, share the video to all your fellow lunatics. Be sure to go over and follow Jimmy on Twitter, and also follow Prism Protocol. Check out all their vaults, check out all their protocol offerings. Some really exciting stuff are happening over there, and I think that is a huge opportunity for any lunatics that are just starting to get into the space. So yeah, thank you so much for everyone for joining, and we'll catch you guys in the next Prism Report. Thanks.
Yep. So yeah, bye.